In this video, we're going to discuss the last operation with polynomials, and that's dividing. With dividing, there are two ways that we can actually divide polynomials. The first way to divide a polynomial is by long division. That should be familiar to you since you have done long division in elementary school. So in elementary school, you practice long division numerically. Well, we're going to do the same thing, but with polynomials. The process will be the same. So we're going to start with a generic problem, what we did in elementary school, a long division numerically. So we're going to take our divisor, 25, and divide it into our dividend, 435. And then we divide. So we have to think about, okay, so 25 can go into 43 one time, so that's 25. Remember, we subtract the 2, and so when we subtract, we're going to get 18. But then we bring down the 5, and then we look at, okay, now can 25 go to 185? Yes. So, but how many times? So we have 25 times 7 gives us 175. So we're going to use 7 this time. So then we have 7, then 25 times 7 is 175. Subtract the 2, and guess what? We have 10. But since 25 cannot go into 10, now we have a remainder of 10. So we're going to do the same thing like this process with polynomials, but we still have to keep the same techniques like we would normally do with a polynomial. Okay, so solving polynomials by long division, we must take our divisor, which is x plus 3, set it up the same way that we solved the last one, and divide x squared plus 7x plus 12. So when we're solving this, we want to do the same thing. So if you're looking at this term x, obviously to get x squared, which is here, we would multiply by x. So then we get x times x is x squared. And then we take that x and multiply by the 3 to give you 3x. Okay, and so we're still subtracting. So, but remember, when you're subtracting, especially with an expression here, it'll be negative x squared, and this will become negative 3x. So now when we add, we'll have 4x, and then bring down the 12, so plus 12. Okay, so then look at it again. So this x out here, what do we need to multiply x by to give you 4x? Well, 4, so plus 4. So 4 times x is 4x. And that 4 gets also multiplied by that 3 to give you 12. Okay, and so then we'll subtract. And so as you see here, everything will end up canceling out. And so you're left with 0. So your remainder is 0. So our final answer is x plus 4. Now, obviously we know that opposite of dividing is multiplication. So if I were to multiply x plus 4 times x plus 3, my result will come out to be what we had as our dividend, which is x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now this only works if you have a remainder of 0, in which in this case we did. So it's one way of checking. So our next example with polynomial long division is a little different than our last one. We have our divisor, 2x minus 3. Okay. And then we have our trinomial, 4x to the third minus 11x minus 4. Well, what is different here is our terms. So if we see that we have 4x to the third, but we're missing a term in between because it goes 4x to the third minus 11x and minus 4. So when you're dividing polynomials, you cannot be missing terms. So what we'll have to do is put something in for our missing term, which will be plus 0x squared. Okay, so any term that is missing, we must place it with 0 and then x, whatever term or degree we're looking for. And then minus 11x and then minus 4. This is the most common error that students will make. It is when they're not putting 0 or the placeholder for the missing term. So please do not forget it. So if you're missing three or four terms, then you're going to have zeros, 3 or 4 zeros, whatever you need in order to fill those gaps. So please make sure you're checking. Make sure you're in order. So then when you go through and you divide, same thing. So 2x out here times what gives me 4x to the third, 2x squared. 2x squared times 2x will be 4x to the third. 2x squared times negative 3 is negative 6x squared. And so we will be subtracting just like normal. And as you can see, these terms should match up and they will always cancel out. So if that was subtracting, this now becomes positive because, with subtraction property, you must change the signs. 6x squared. Bring down the negative 11x. And then we'll go through and do it again. So we have 2x times what gives me 6x squared, positive 3x. Okay, so now what we'll need to do is then take our 3x and multiply it to our term. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. Okay, we'll subtract. So now this will become positive. Again, this cancels out, and then we get negative 2x. Bring down the negative 4. So 2x times what gives me negative 2x? We'll have a negative 1. So negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And then negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. Okay, so then we'll need to subtract. Okay, but now this time, if you notice, this will become positive, and this will become negative, so we'll have negative 7, and that's as far as we can go. So we do have a remainder, so with your polynomials, when you have a remainder, what you'll do is you'll take your negative 7, like this, and then put it all over your divisor, which is 2x minus 3. You can put a little plus sign here if you want to separate it, but your negative can take care of that for you, but this is your final answer. So I know it's kind of messy. I'll rewrite it out to the side so you know what it looks like. But 2x squared plus 3x minus 1 with a remainder of negative 7 over 2x minus 3. So this is your final answer using long division.